Hello and welcome back, and in this third video we're going to start with problem 6, graphing quadratic functions using transformations and identify properties of the function. I have the work here. So these are the 3 problems I assigned. I started off here with 7. We're going to write, I've already drawn the basic quadratic function, which is f of x equals x squared. It starts at 0, 0. This is one of the ones you should know how to graph without a calculator. 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9. We're just squaring the numbers. Negative 1, 1, negative 2, 4, negative 3, 9. So that's the basic function. We're looking at that when we look at this thing right here, the square. Alright, now we have 2 transformations on the first one, number 7. First transformation is we're going to move it right 4. This transforms right 4. And then this transformation right here is going to reflect on x-axis. Alright, so we're going to do this, both of those things at the same time here. We can, because we just have to translate it down from where we move it to. So I'm going to move the vertex 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the right to this point. That would be 4, 0. Now I'm going to reflect down, so instead of going over 1 and up 1, we're going to go over 1 and down 1. Reflect. Reflect, so this one's going to also go down 1 on both sides. Usually we go over 2 and up 4. So we're going to go over 2 from the vertex here. 1, 2, and then down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do that on both sides of the vertex. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's our point. And then our last one was over 3 and up 9. So we're going to go over 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go 9 down. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So right to that point. We're going to do that over here at the same place. It has a mirror or axis of symmetry. So this is our graph of our transformed quadratic. And it doesn't look great on this screen. Alright, number 10, or let's do number 8. Number 8 has 3 transformations. It has a right 1, a stretch, a vertical stretch of 2, and up 4. Up 4. Translation. Alright, so I'm going to leave the blue one here, and we're going to use that for number 10 right here. We're going to base it on the blue one on the other graph. Okay, let's start with let's do the right one and the vertical stretch first. So we're going to move it over 1. We're going to start right here. But we're going to do a vertical stretch of 2. That means instead of going up 1 on the next one over, we're going to double that and go up 2. Alright, we stretch it out. It usually goes over 1, up 1. It goes over 1, up 1, because 1 squared is 1. So now we're going to have 1 squared is 2 when we move over 1. When we move over 2 here, we squared it, got 4. So this is going to go up to 8 if we move over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Alright, and it's going to happen on either side of the axis. Same thing. And so it's a stretched graph. It's a little more pointier because of the 2. Now we haven't moved it up 4 yet. So my last transformation would be to move it up 4. So these would go up 4 units every time. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It would travel to there. We would travel up 1, 2, 3, 4 to there. We would travel up 4 to here. This point would travel up 4 to off the screen. All right, and same over here off the screen, because we don't have any graph paper that high. So it looks similar, but it's been traveled up 4. So the green one is the final graph of that. All right. Now this one has number 10. I'm sorry, this was number 8. This is not number 10. This is number 8. Now we're going to do number 10. So number 10 is, first we're going to do a vertical shrink of a factor of 1/2. And then we're also going to reflect. So this is a shrink by factor of 1/2, and then reflect on x-axis. And we're also going to move it up 2. So let's start with the shrink. So we take this and we always start here, because that can't shrink anymore. X-axis, you can't shrink anymore on the x-axis once you hit the x-axis. So you're going to shrink this point down here by a factor of 1/2. So it goes here to 1/2. And on this side it goes to 1/2. And then this point up here on my regular curve was 4. We're going to shrink that by 1/2, so that's going to be 2 instead. 1, 2. 1, 2. All right, now this was 9 here. 3 was 9 on the regular graph. I'm going to shrink that to 1/2, so that's going to be 4.5. So 3 would be 4.5. 1, 2, 4.5. And 4.5 over here. So this is the shrink. This is just the 1/2 x squared. Now I'm not going to fill that in because I'm going to now do a negative. So negative means I reflect. So I'm going to move these points to below the axis right here. So they're going to reflect across the axis here. So to these points here. So this graph is our intermediate graph. It's negative 1/2 x squared. Now we're just going to add 2 to that, so we just shift everything up 2. So our final one is going to look like this. We move this up 2 to here. We move this 1/2 up to a 1/2 here, and a 1/2 there on that side. This is 2, so it's going to go up and cross the axis instead, there and there. And then this one, you got 4.5, so that's going to be 2.5. So it moves to here on both sides. So this would be my final graph of negative 1/2 x squared plus 2, f of x equals. Okay, so those are our transformations. All right. Okay. Moving on to 7, which says take the equation and write it in vertex form using the process of completing a square. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to do that on both of these problems. We're going to complete the square. All right, so for the first example, part A, we have f of x equals x squared plus 6x minus 5. Now what we need to do is complete the square. So I move the 5 over a little bit so that we can complete the square on this. We need to create a binomial that's exactly the same that we're going to get 6x on. So this binomial has to be exactly the same both times. Our goal is to have it look like x with a square on it and then the number. Okay, there's no number in front, so it's going to look like this when we're done. So we need to have 6x. Well, these have to be the same, and when we do FOIL, this pair and this pair gives us 6x. So that means they have to be 3's here each time to get that 6x in the middle. And they both have to be positive 3 to get that 6x in the middle. Now, if I do FOIL on this, this last product would be what I need to add to this to get this to be factorable. So now this whole thing factors into this, which then is going to be this plus 3 squared. Now, but I've added 9 to the problem, so that means I also have to subtract 9. I have to add and subtract the same thing. We can't change the value of this side. This 9 is used in the factoring. This 9 is going to be part of my translation. So we're going to have this minus 14 here at the end. So my final answer here would be x plus 3 squared minus 14. That's completing the square on the first one. Now B is a little bit more difficult because it has a factor of 4 in front. So the first step there is to factor that 4 out so that we can have that factored out. We're still going to move this 5 to the outside that's there, but we want to factor the 4 out of these two terms. So we factor it out, we get x squared minus 4x. Okay, because 4 times 4 is that negative 16 that's up there. All right, now we're going to do the same thing. We want this to create a binomial squared. So x and x gives us x squared. We need that negative 4 in the middle when we do the middle factor. So these are both going to be 2 each, negative 2 each. Now this number is then going to be this product, which is positive 4. Now our binomial that goes out there is x minus 2 squared. Now we have to figure out what number this is going to be after we've added this number. Well, we really haven't added 4. We've only added 4 inside the parentheses. Really what we've added is 4 times 4, which is 16. We've rarely added 16 to this answer. So that means we have to subtract 16 also so that it doesn't change the value of the function. So in reality, this is going to be minus 21 here. 5 and negative 16, so you're going to end up with f of x equals 4 times x minus 2 squared minus 21. Alright, so we're going to finish this video right here. I'm going to start my next video on problem number 8.